Welcome to this week's Behind the Poem. Before I share this week's poem, which is brand new, I wanted to remind you that next Thursday, September 19th at 7 p.m., I have a solo poetry show at the Triad Theater on the Upper West Side of Manhattan. It is my first in-person solo poetry show in New York City since before the pandemic. I used to do these things once, twice a year for all the years I've been in New York City. So this is a homecoming of sorts, and I would be absolutely honored to see you there. And for those of you who have been around here, these parts, a long time, you know that I never repeat a set list. Every single performance is unique. I have a literal Excel spreadsheet of every set list from every show on tour throughout my career. So this is truly a one-night only affair, and I would be absolutely thrilled to have you there. One of my favorite things about live performances are that we don't know who's going to be in the room. And part of what happens isn't just the set list and however I put it together in advance and whatever I choose to shapeshift about it in real time. It's who's in the room and how that impacts what's happening on stage. And it becomes a cyclical shared experience and conversation that truly only happens once. So I'd love for you to be part of that one time only affair. Link in bio. There are still some tickets available. Bring your people, come through. And without further ado, I didn't mean for it to rhyme. I'm going to share a brand new poem. This is called "There are no currently active airports in Palestine." Wikipedia. This is my first time leaving the country since it began. I say since, but we don't all agree on when it began. Nor do we agree on what it is, or if it is anything at all. The security employee next to me calls their supervisor to tell them about the alarm that went off because they think it was the wind. And the supervisor agrees that it was the wind. "I think that's all it was," the supervisor said. Now, the antecedent is a powerful part of the sentence. And a sentence itself has many meanings too. Is it a few months, years, for life? And who decided on the sentence? Was it a judge, parole officer, the court? Now, I reckon one of the problems with this particular sentence is that we can't agree on the antecedent at all. Some of us would call it an open-air prison, which would make it a sentence of many years and goes back a lot longer than the last time I left the country, which means before it began, because I'd argue that it was going on a long time, and that seems like a pretty long sentence to me. For instance, this last sentence was relatively long too for a sentence, but that was made possible thanks to several commas and the ability to make a clause. Now, we actually have the ability to make a clause, but since we can't agree on the antecedent, it seems like we therefore can't seem to agree upon the necessity of a clause. Now, I personally think that a clause could help with all of the various sentences, both the ones with ambiguous antecedents and the ones that are taking people's lives. Though I'd argue the ambiguity of antecedents has something also to do with death. Each sentence ends with a piece of punctuation, and then it is dead. The sentence, which in the prior sentence was the antecedent of the it. What I think is nice about an airport is not the ability to leave, but the choice to arrive. The choice to blame the antecedent on the wind. To choose the antecedent at all. To arrive at the end of a sentence and know it is a period or question mark and not death. In the open air, I'm someone who gets to fly. I say this most posts, whether it's Touch Base Tuesdays or Behind the Poem or a quote, and I really mean it. I really truly mean it when I say that I am sending love and liberation to all. Take care.